Most candidates walk into a business development representative interview thinking that the job is about being naturally charming or a born salesperson. It is not. Employers are hiring for persistence, structure, and the ability to handle rejection and keep going. In this video, I'll show you exactly what they're looking for and what it sounds like to get it right. Getting to the interview stage is not luck. Employers reviewed a lot of resumes before they called yours. The work now is making sure the conversation matches what got you here. BDRs sit at the top of the sales funnel. Before any deal closes, before any account executive gets on a call, a BDR has already identified the opportunity, made contact, and qualified the fit. Day-to-day that translate into prospecting, outreach through calls and emails, booking discovery meetings, and keeping the CRM updated so nothing falls through the cracks. A common misconception about this role is that you need to have a sales background to get hired. Most BDR teams are built on potential, not prior quotas. What interviewers are really trying to assess is whether you can handle the pace, recover quickly from rejection, keep your pipeline organized, and learn the product fast enough to have credible conversations with prospects. Make sure to read the job description more than once. The first pass always gives you a generic picture. The second pass is where you start pulling out words and phrases the employer uses repeatedly, because those are the competencies the interview is going to probe on. Once you have those, go through your own background and experiences and find that to map each one. Part-time jobs, school assignments, volunteer roles, and personal projects all count if you frame them correctly. Then put 30 to 45 minutes into the company itself. For a BDR role, generic research is not enough. You need to understand the product, the customer profile, how the company generates pipeline, and who they compete with. Interviews in Salesforce expect you to have done this work. Candidates who cannot speak to the business beyond what is on the homepage tend to get filtered out early. Go one step further and look at the company the way a BDR does. Check their LinkedIn presence, their outreach activity, their website conversion points, and how visible they are compared to their competitors. Find one thing to bring up at the interview. For example, I noticed your outreach candidates on LinkedIn is less frequent than some of your competitors. I would be curious to understand the strategy behind that and would be interested in contributing to it. One specific observation like this signals you have already thinking like someone in this role. Sales teams run on tools and metrics. You will not be expected to walk in as an expert, but showing up with the working knowledge of what these platforms do and how the numbers are tracked will set you apart from other candidates who treat this section as an afterthought. Some tools worth knowing are Salesforce or HubSpot, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, Outreach or SalesLoft, Apollo or ZoomInfo, Google Workplace, or Slack. Some metrics worth knowing is outreach volume, so the total number of calls, emails, or messages sent in a given period, open rate, so the percentage of prospecting emails that were opened by the recipient, reply rate, the percentage of outreach messages that receive a response, meeting booked rate, the percentage of conversations that resulted in a scheduled meeting, conversion rate, the percentage of leads that moved from one stage of the pipeline to the next, pipeline contribution, the total value of opportunities a BDR has generated for a sales team. You do not need to have used all of these, but saying something like, I understand how CRM systems track lead activity and I'm comfortable learning new tools quickly is more than enough at an entry level. Employers hiring BDRs look for a specific combination of skills: communication, resilience, time management, coachability, goal orientation, and basic CRM knowledge. Communication is at the top because BDRs are constantly reaching out to prospects through calls, emails, and messages, and every interaction needs to be clear, confident, and professional. Resilience is just as critical. Rejection is a normal and frequent part of the job. Employers want to see that you can hear no, learn from the interaction, and move to the next one without losing momentum. What trips most junior candidates up is not the skill itself, but it is showing that they have it without a traditional sales title to point to. The solution is simple. Connect with what you have done to what role requires. Fundraising is prospecting, retail is objection handling, tutoring is relationship management. The activity does not have to be from a sales job, it just has to be real. Let us walk through exactly what this looks like inside an interview stimulation. Here I will show you exactly how to use the MYLS interview platform to practice for a business development representative interview. All you have to do is start by searching a MYLS interview on Google, click on the first link, and sign up using an email ID. Once successfully signed up, click Start Interview and choose a career that you want to practice. Today we will be doing a BDR interview. MYLS asks that you set up both your camera and microphone. Once that's complete, you're ready to start answering your practice questions. This is how your interview will be structured. MYLS gives you exactly the same number of questions and format that you expect on your actual interview. These include some being video-based. For the video-based questions, MYLS looks at your facial features, expressions, and the way you overall express yourself. The stimulation covers 4 areas: sales knowledge and prospecting fundamentals, pipeline management and daily execution, communication and objection handling, and resilience and goal driven mindset. The exact questions rotate each time, so the goal is not to be memorized, it's to understand how to approach each type of question.
If you were assigned a mixed territory with existing customers, net new accounts, and some inbound interest, how would you decide where to spend your prospecting time in week one?
This first question evaluates whether the candidate understands what strong BDR performance looks like in a real quota carrying environment and can explain how they would begin creating pipeline. It tests baseline judgment about the role, day to day execution, buyer targeting, and how outreach turns into qualified meetings. Interviewers assess whether the candidate can connect motivation with practical work expectations such as rejection, volume, preparation, and consistency. Strong performance shows grounded understanding of outbound sales work, realistic self awareness, and the ability to describe credible first step execution in a fast paced term. This level is foundational for ramp speed and dependable early contribution.
A prospect replies to your email with interest, but gives only a vague response. How would you use the next conversation to uncover whether the opportunity is real and worth advancing?
The second question evaluates whether the candidate can execute the core BDR workflow from outreach activity through qualification, meeting booking, and process follow through. It tests practical ability to manage sequence discipline, conduct early discovery, judge lead quality, and keep work organized across a high volume day. Interviewers look for execution thinking rather than generic sales language, including how candidates prioritize follow up, document next steps, and maintain momentum without losing quality. Strong performance indicates the candidate can convert effort into usable pipeline and support downstream sales teams with reliable information. This capability level is central to productivity, handoff quality, and consistent meeting generation.
Are you comfortable engaging with new people in person?
The third question evaluates how the candidate behaves when outcomes are uncertain, feedback is direct, and success depends on coordination with others. It tests resilience under rejection, professionalism during difficult interactions, willingness to improve, and how effectively the candidate works with account executives or managers to increase results. Interviewers assess ownership, emotional control, and whether the candidate turns setbacks into better executions instead of excuses. Strong performances show the candidate can sustain energy, protect team trust, and apply coaching in observable ways during repetitive and demanding work.
If your activity level is high, but your meeting results are below target, how would you decide what to diagnose first and what changes to make?
The fourth and final question evaluates whether the candidate can make sound decisions when targets are aggressive, time is limited, and trade offs affect pipeline quality. It tests judgments across prioritization, metrics, outreach optimization, tool usage, and balancing volume with quality. Interviewers assess whether the candidate can diagnose weak performance, refine approach using data, and stay disciplined while working through ambiguity or changing conditions. Strong performance shows practical understanding of how daily actions influence meetings, conversions, and team outcomes over time. This capability level matters because successful BDRs must protect productivity, improve execution continuously, and make decisions that strengthen pipeline rather than inflate activity. After each session, you get a full report with an overall score and question by question feedback so you know exactly where you are strong and where to improve. You can redo the simulation as many times as you need, and every time you do, your answers get sharper and more refined. By the time you walk into your actual interview, you will have already said your answers out loud multiple times in a realistic setting. That is the difference between hoping it goes well and actually being ready. Ideally, you can see what the program is looking for so that you are able to become an ideal candidate. Additionally, MYLS highlights your activated ability with character traits and how you did in reference to them. This shows you exactly what you did well and how you can change things up for your actual interview. Knowing all of this is one thing, saying it loud under pressure is another. Most candidates read interview tips but never actually practice speaking their answers, and that is exactly where they lose confidence in the room. This is why we built MYLS Interview. For behavioral questions, the STAR method is your best tool. Situation sets the context, task covers what you are responsible for, action is what you did step by step, result is what happened because of it. It is the same framework whether the example comes from a summer job, a school project, or a personal initiative. Continuing inside the simulation, here are the most common questions you are likely to see, each with a simple answer built for someone with no professional sales experience yet. Tell me about yourself. Script this one in advance because the interview wants to hear your background, your relevant skills, and why you are interested in a specific role. I recently completed my studies in business and communications, and over the past year, I have been building practical experience through a part time customer service role and volunteering to run outreach for a student organization. Both experiences helped me develop confidence in cold conversations, handling objectives, and staying organized under pressure. I am looking for a role where I can take those skills into a structured sales environment and grow quickly, and a BDR position feels like the right starting point. If you already have a sales or outreach experience, lead with that instead. The structure stays the same. Tell me about a time you dealt with rejection or a difficult interaction. This is one of the most common BDR questions because rejection is the job. During my retail job, a customer came in frustrated because an item they needed was out of stock. I listened without interrupting, acknowledged their frustration, and suggested two alternatives that could meet the same need. They were hesitant at first, but I walked them through both options and explained the difference. They needed purchasing one of the alternatives and thanked me on the way out. That experience reinforced for me that staying calm and focusing on the solution rather than discomfort is what truly turns a difficult interaction into a positive one. Tell me about a time you worked toward a specific goal. Employers want to see that you can stay focused and deliver results even outside a formal sales context. In a group project at school, our team was responsible for presenting a marketing strategy to a panel of judges. I took ownership of coordinating the team, created a shared deadline tracker, and ran weekly check ins to make sure everyone was on track. When one team member fell behind, I redistributed tasks and covered part of the section without making it an issue. We delivered on time and received one of the highest grades in class. That experience taught me how to still stay goal oriented while keeping the team moving forward, which is something I would bring into a quota driven environment. Tell me about a time you faced repeated rejection and kept going. While fundraising for a student club, I was reaching out to alumni donors through calls and emails for several weeks. The majority said no, and some did not respond at all. Instead of treating each no as a setback, I started tracking which messaging got a response and adjusted my approach based on what was working and what was not. By the end of the campaign, our team exceeded the fundraising target. That process of iterating on feedback and staying consistent is exactly what I want to bring to a BDR role. Your questions at the end of the interview are not a formality, they are a signal that you are already thinking past the offer and toward how you would actually perform in the role. Prepare at least two or three of the following questions. What does the ramp up period look like for a new BDR, and what success does it look like in first 90 days? What are the biggest challenges the sales team is currently facing? How is performance measured for BDRs, and what does a typical quota look like? What does the path for BDR to account executive look like at your company? How would you describe the team culture and the management style on the sales floor? Go through the job description one more time the night before. Pull out your company research notes, run through your star stories out loud, because the difference between a story that sounds polished and one that stumbles is almost always just whether you have said it out loud before. If this is a virtual interview, test your setup in advance and log in early. After the interview, send a thank you email within 24 hours, reference something specific from the conversation, keep it brief, and restate your interest. It is a small step that a surprising number of candidates skip entirely. If you're watching this with no sales experience, yet start building relevant examples now. Fundraising, canvassing, tutoring, customer service, or cold outreach for a personal project all count. The examples do not need to come from a sales job, they just need to be real and specific. The stimulation you just saw is exactly what MYLS interview is built for. Get your answers out of your head and into your mouth before the real thing. Practice the questions, get feedback, and walk in ready. Landing a BDR role without a sales background is entirely possible, and plenty of people do it. What separates the candidates who get offers and those who do not comes down to three things: how prepared they are going in, how well they perform in the room, and whether they follow up after. Nail all three, and you will already be ahead of most people interviewing for the same seat. Good luck, you have got this.